Three Corners is just your average small town, standing on the banks of a flood-prone river with a large pub anchoring the village at a once-famous three-way intersection. Now it's simply convenient, as people chase the country dream, the country lifestyle, just not the unceasing agricultural workload. Population, 2,000-ish. But like all small towns, scratch the surface and you'll be surprised at what you find underneath. In that sense, Three Corners is really no different to any other small town I know, except perhaps for some of the characters you might meet. She lay still, completely stiff, staring at the harsh fluorescent lighting. There was a crack near the metal vent directly above. It was cool though, blissfully cool, blissfully quiet. Someone else's child was screaming in the distance. Someone else's partner was quibbling about the necessity of quinoa. She wiggled slightly, her hair making a comforting crunching noise, and she folded her hands across her stomach and finally relaxed. The cool, penetrating, the thin cotton dress and the crispness of the air making everything seem fresh. Renewed. There was a slight clearing of her throat above, and reluctantly she opened one eye. A troubled face. A young face. Once she would have known who it belonged to, but today she couldn't remember and she didn't care. A young face, wearing a supermarket uniform. She adjusted her head again and closed the eye.
What?
She snapped, eyes flying open, angry at being disturbed once more.
Ma'am?
He nervously looked behind and she followed his gaze to take in the crowd that had gathered.
Well?
Could you kindly move your leg? Mrs. Johnson wants some peas.
And then he fled. She slowly pulled a packet of peas from behind her thigh and held it out over the edge of the freezer so Mrs. Johnson, a tiny blue-rinsed grandmother, could reach them.
Thank you, dear.
Then she settled back into the freezer to wait for the hot flush to pass. Today's episode of Three Corners was produced by our maestro,
Postie,
and featured the spotlight tones of
Jane O'Brien.
Matt Dawson.
and me, Jack. For more stories, go to hittheroadjack.com.au or subscribe to the Three Corners podcast.